John Morrison made a less than explosive return to WWE, but his already impressive performances have him trending upwards within the company's pecking order and in the minds of fans. Morrison has had an entertaining career over his almost 20 years in the business, and there are a lot of things that not everyone knows about him. This is Wrestling Hub, and here are 10 things you did not know about John Morrison. We begin with what ended up being the genesis of Morrison's career. John Morrison tried out for the second season of Tough Enough, and he managed to impress the likes of Jim Ross in his auditions. However, Kevin Dunn absolutely hated John's work and thought he'd never make it in WWE. He got rejected for season 2, but the glowing reviews from vets like JR meant that he would join season 3, which he would end up winning alongside Matt Cappotelli. Morrison and Cappotelli became best friends, and intermittently tagged and feuded while in WWE's developmental brand OVW in 2004. This feud would become notable as it led to the debut of 5-time Divas champion and possible future Hall of Famer Melina. Melina was introduced as Morrison's ex-girlfriend who was allying with Cappotelli, but she would betray him and return to Morrison. John and Melina would be called up together and became a memorable trio alongside Joey Mercury, which is the way Morrison, then going as Johnny Nitro, introduced himself to the larger mainstream WWE audiences and became a tag champion. GLOW stands for Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, and was a massive hit when it launched on Netflix, a unique show which not only captured the struggles of becoming a major wrestling promotion, but did it from the lens of establishing a women's promotion, something that was much harder to do. They legitimized the show by having actual wrestlers like Awesome Kong join the cast. There was another high-profile wrestler which made a cameo appearance in the pilot episode of the show, and that was John Morrison. The leads of the show were Allison Brie and Betty Gilpin. Morrison was on the show as a wrestling trainer named Salty Johnson. He was brought in by the booker of the promotion, portrayed by Mark Maron, to help train the women that volunteered to wrestle, a bunch that had no experience and had to be taught from the ground up. He wouldn't make another appearance as he was removed from the trainer's position, with one of the women on the roster, played by Sydel Noel, replacing him. Many other wrestlers contracted to TNA at the time made appearances, including Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian. Brooke Hogan and Alex Riley also had cameo appearances. John Morrison has had 11 in-ring names across his 18-year wrestling career, really making you marvel at what he has achieved despite the constant name changes. You could argue that the changing names become a part of his mystique. Everyone knew that he doesn't wrestle with the same last name in different promotions, so the constant changes actually kept him fresh. The journey of his multiple ring names is just as interesting to know about his career. We'll quickly list out the 11 names that Morrison has gone by in his career. He began under his real name John Hennigan, until he was called up to SmackDown in 2004, where they had changed his name to Johnny Blaze, and 3 weeks later, Johnny Spade. Another week after that, Morrison finally got his first stable name in Johnny Nitro, as homage to the recently closed WCW. After ascending the ranks and becoming ECW champion, his last name became Morrison, the name he has used for most of his WWE career. Outside the company, Morrison wrestled as Johnny Mundo in Lucha Underground and Johnny Impact in Impact Wrestling. Other names he has had are Johnny Blackcraft, Johnny Onyx, Johnny Superstar, and Johnny Ultra. We've already spoken about the cameo on GLOW, but that isn't where Morrison's involvement with the production side of entertainment, TV, and films begins or ends. He has had multiple appearances on different shows, with us talking about his influence on one mainstream American show later on in this list. Morrison has been in roles like Hercules, a role played by The Rock before him. In 2012, Morrison appeared in Legend of the Black as a shadow creature, before then appearing as Razor in 20 Feet Below, The Darkness Descending, a Danny Trejo movie. In 2014, he was in Ascent to Hell. He has also made guest appearances on Baby Daddy, Shameless, Days of Our Lives, The Last Ship, The Guest Book, Ms. and Mrs., and even Being the Elite. Morrison's passion for films is not a newfound one. In fact, it is something he planned on making his career around. Morrison is one of the many fortunate wrestlers that could go to college and graduate with a degree. He graduated from the University of California, Davis and majored in film during his time there. Considering how he started out learning what to do behind the camera, his success in front of the camera truly reflected the versatility that he has. This is one of the lowest points of Morrison's personal life and may have had long-term consequences on his budding wrestling career. While in a relationship with Melina, rumors began to swirl around that Melina was cheating on Morrison with top star Batista. Batista is a self-admitted womanizer, and it's confirmed along with Melina that they had a relationship, but only after Morrison and Melina were broken up, although the situation ended up rocking the backstage environment of WWE. Morrison was scared to step out of line and confront Batista, and ended his relationship with Melina after being together for around 11 years due to the rumors. Vince McMahon was not pleased at how Morrison just let Batista take his girlfriend away from him, as Vince values real-life toughness in his top stars. This meant Morrison was in a situation that he could not recover from. Vince had already built an image of Morrison in his head, and it wasn't going to change. Morrison never rose to the championship level he was expected to, and all because Batista took his girlfriend. John Morrison could have succeeded anywhere in the world of wrestling after his 2011 exit from WWE. However, Morrison picked his options carefully and stumbled across the world of Mexican Lucha Libre when they were trying to make a major mainstream push. Morrison signed with Lucha Underground as Johnny Mundo and was promoted as one of the top stars of the new brand. Morrison became the second ever Triple Crown champion in LU history, winning the World Title, Gift of the Gods Championship, and Trios Championship. Morrison went on to make appearances in AAA, but became a permanent fixture in Impact Wrestling. Over the 2 years he spent in Impact, he became world champion and enjoyed a main event stay for almost the entirety of his run, helping the brand transition from the GFW mess to what it is today. He even stayed on with Impact for roughly 5 months after his contract expired to find natural conclusions to his existing stories. We've spoken about Morrison's passion for the art of filmmaking and his multiple appearances on mainstream sources of entertainment. While Glow was massive for his profile, the one appearance that left a good impression on senior executives in the TV industry was his participation in Survivor. He was on the David vs. Goliath season in 2018 and was assigned to the Goliath tribe. There are semantics of confusing tribe changes, but the story is that Morrison got eliminated, despite only getting 3 elimination votes because of immunity that players ranked below him had attained. Morrison's appearance on Survivor was met with critical acclaim, with many saying the episode with his elimination was the best of the season. The show's executive producer and host, Jeff Probst, was so impressed with Morrison, as he described him as the guy who catches the winning touchdown pass in the final moments of the Super Bowl, and then, instead of some crazy celebration, he casually tosses the ball to the ref, kisses his wife, and hugs his kids, alongside stating that he would absolutely have Morrison back on the show. A strong impression in one of American TV's most lauded franchises, that's a win. In an interview with The World According to Wrestling in 2016, Morrison had laid out plans for what he would want to do eventually, which involved possibly wrestling Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. However, his reasons for fighting both men differ from man to man. While he paid a compliment to Seth Rollins, who has long been considered one of the best workers in WWE, and a veiled insult to Roman Reigns, who definitely hasn't even been considered an elite worker. The tone with which you say some things make a big difference, and when you type words out, tone is not reflected. That is why Morrison created controversy by saying that he would want to work with Roman Reigns in the next 10 years or so, because by then he'd hopefully have figured out how to work. We're 4 years in, Roman is a way better wrestler now and is on the same brand as Morrison. Morrison also spoke about Rollins and said, "Everybody knows I'm going to kick his ass someday." This match seems a little harder to make, considering both men are on different brands and Rollins has a very direct storyline focus right now, so a one-off or a feud against Morrison right now wouldn't make any sense. Maybe before 2020 is over. While we have spoken about Morrison and his relationship with Melina, we haven't spoken about his current relationship. His partner is highly relevant, as she has been rumored with a WWE switch. Morrison is married to Impact Wrestling 2019 Knockout of the Year Taya Valkyrie. Morrison and Valkyrie began dating in 2015 when they were working together at Lucha Underground. This relationship has sustained since, with Morrison and Valkyrie getting engaged in 2017 and married in 2018. Valkyrie recently re-signed with Impact to extend her contract till the end of the year. Whether this means that Valkyrie joins Morrison in WWE is unknown. We have seen many WWE careers thrive due to having a partner around. John Morrison was gone for almost 9 years before his return in 2020. Considering the fast-changing landscape of WWE, a lot has altered in the 9 years that Morrison was gone. For example, WWE in 2009 still saw John Cena, Batista, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Triple H, and more all serve as full-time talents. The Shield hadn't even debuted on the main roster. NXT had not been rebranded, among many other things. How many fans from 9 years ago were actually going to be there to welcome Morrison back, as most of the casual WWE fans had not followed his tremendous run on the independent scene? Morrison said he decided he wanted to move on to the biggest promotion in wrestling once again while he was still Impact Champion, so he texted Vince McMahon regarding it. McMahon was on board and called Morrison immediately, but it turned out to be a butt dial. McMahon told Morrison to hang tight for a week, after which McMahon had a long talk with Morrison about his return. This became talks with Triple H and eventually a confirmed return, which was announced on WWE Backstage on Fox. And these were 10 things you didn't know about John Morrison. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching Wrestling Hub, and I'll see you later in the next video.